All right. All right. This is episode 17 of my Brain Dump podcast, and this is my third ever interview on the series. And this is my good friend Jacob Tucker. Um, we met in San Francisco. We were both going to San Francisco State. We pretty much met at Tivana when we were both working there. And then, yeah, we just sort of became friends after that and like moved in together for like a few years, and he recently moved to LA. So that's cool. And yeah, so tell us like um I guess how do you like LA so far?
Yeah, sure. What's Rom? Yeah, I moved here. I think it was about 3 weeks ago, and it was coming up about 3 weeks ago. So it hasn't been a super long time. So I'm still mostly getting settled in. I'm building out my apartments. Trying to get it all nice, get the aesthetics that I like going on in here. So I've been mostly spending my time doing that. The area that I live in is I live in Westlake, so it's kind of like a little bit north of downtown and a little chaotic, I guess, compared to where my last place was in San Francisco. I used to live like right next to the beach, pretty much. It was across the street from the zoo. Like it was just a super sort of sleepy area, but just like still a lot of cool things around. So I think an area like that is kind of hard to beat, and I kind of knew that moving here. Um, but but I mean, it's something to get used to, and there's more action, I guess. There's a lot better
Yeah, like the
food
Ross.
options. Yeah, like there's like these really awesome street tacos that are right across the street from me. So yeah.
Nice. And then I guess like what brought you to this point, or what when I guess when you were living in San Francisco, what was like I know you talked to me about it a little bit in person, but like what was the I guess factor that you're like, okay, I'm moving?
Yeah, so it was a few things. But so one thing that is kind of important in all this is that over the last year, I graduated San Francisco State. I think it was almost 2 years ago. And yeah, since then, I've been working for Apple at the Apple store. And then also I started doing photography on the side because it was something I enjoyed. And then I started getting like small paid jobs for that. And then that kind of led me into eventually starting to do videos too. And I found I really liked that. So at this point, that's kind of where I see my career going, doing videography. And because of that, LA kind of seemed like the place to go for that. But there are a few other reasons. The reason for the timing is because my other roommate wanted to move in with her boyfriend. And so it was either we try to fill her spot, which would have been kind of hard, or I try to find somewhere else in San Francisco, or I just, you know, moved to LA earlier than I expected. Um, and so it just kind of made sense for me to do that. But yeah, other reasons I wanted to move here is the girl that I've been talking to on and off for the last 4 years. She's also, we haven't really been able to date because I've been in San Francisco, she's been in Puerto Rico, but she's going to be moving to Southern California pretty soon as well. So she's going to be living in um, Orange County. So, you know, it would mean that we would actually be able to date. So that would be really awesome. And that's another really big reason why I want to move here. And my family's down here. So there's that. I have other friends who are doing similar things to me, with videography that, I kind of wanted to work with them. So there's a few different reasons.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's I feel like with me it was very similar. Like that's sort of why I wanted to move here, because I had like some friends down here, and like my dad is also like close, and then just like the music stuff too is like a lot more
Mhm.
hearing that. So I feel that.
Yeah, LA just kind of feels like the place to be if you're trying to do anything, in entertainment, with that being music or uh, film or anything like that in that space. It just kind of feels like this is where a lot of creatives come to try to make their dreams happen. So
Yeah, and you can
yeah,
like, collaborate so much easier here.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then I'm interested about your I guess like your background and like your life, I guess in Temecula, like pre SF, and then how did your life change when you moved to SF? I guess.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I grew up in Temecula. For those who don't know, Temecula is like kind of a uh, maybe it's a smaller suburban town, kind of like in between San Diego and LA. It's just like a valley suburb. Not super diverse, not a lot going on there, but they got a wine country. Um, and yeah, I mean, I grew up there, and it was, it's like one of the safest cities in the U.S. and it's it's fine. Made a lot of good friends there, but I really wanted to leave and just see more of the world. And I mean, I've stayed in California, but um, yeah, I just really wanted to experience like living in the cities that are, in my home state. And so, yeah, so doing that has kind of really given me a lot more direction in my life. I feel like I've been able to learn a lot more about the world and other people, and encounter people that are different from me and learn from them and kind of take from that. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then in college, I know you like your focus was like political science and journalism. Um, what I guess what inspired you to like study those things initially?
Yeah, it was at community college. I went to community college in San Marcos, which is in North County, San Diego, for 4 years. I was there for kind of a while. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do for a really long time. It took a while for me to kind of find any sort of direction. And yeah, I ended up choosing journalism because at the time I really wanted to be a writer. I was reading a lot of like classic fiction, and the idea of like, I don't know, being a fiction writer really appealed to me. I've like never written fiction, but it still was like something I was interested in at the time. Um, but I would, I wasn't gonna just like say I'm a writer and then just like not study anything else, or like I don't know. I just knew that that wasn't really a, a money path. So yeah, I wanted to choose something else that I could do as a trade that would, keep me in the writing space. And journalism made sense. Another thing about it was that uh, I feel like I've always had this life philosophy of just wanting to experience as much as I can. And journalism as a profession kind of is something that puts you sort of on the front lines of life. Like you're out there finding interesting stories and interesting things in the world, and to be able to write about them for other people. So that was something that really appealed to me. And then I double majored with political science because I was also just really into politics. And um, I thought about double majoring with philosophy because I feel like philosophy was really, um, I mean, that's something that like, I've been really interested in since, since high school. But it was also just kind of a practical use decision. With philosophy, I feel like there's a lot of really awesome things that you can get out of it for, for application to your own life and just for general interest. But studying it academically, I feel like it becomes less and less practically applicable and becomes more and more of just sort of a, um, I guess, a insulated academic field with not as much relation to the outside world. So rather than studying that, you know, and getting a degree in that, political science seemed like it had much more practical application to this other path that I was choosing, which was journalism. So for a while, my goal was to be a political reporter and try to get a job at the New York Times and go to DC and whatnot. And yeah, I was like very invested in that goal for a while. But and when I was in San Francisco State, I took some multimedia classes. I had bought a camera for a photojournalism class, and I had already been kind of messing around with it. Doing photography on the side, just street photos and kind of random things, just for fun. And yeah, and then I started, doing videos on, for these classes, and then I ended up becoming the multimedia editor on the magazine at San Francisco State, and I felt like I did a pretty good job with that. Like I mean, comparing my work to the people around me, I felt like it kind of held itself pretty well, and I felt that it was all really natural for me. Video editing, using my camera, finding interesting shots, and it was also really fun. Like it didn't feel like I don't know as stressful and difficult as writing was. Um, it just felt like it was really easy. And so because of that, when I graduated, I wanted to give myself some time. I kind of felt like I didn't really have as solid of an idea as I used to on what I really wanted to do with my life. So I wanted to give myself some time to just sort of do what I wanted. And at the time, what I really wanted was to just take a lot of pictures. And so that's what I ended up doing. And then that's kind of what shaped the direction that I'm heading in now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like I sort of pieced that together like throughout our time together, but I guess I didn't know it like that clearly. Like it was never like explained to me. Like
Yeah, I mean, you were kind of there during
yeah, I was there.
that transition. Yeah, because we met like not really long after I moved to San Francisco. We moved there at like the same time, didn't we?
Yeah, it was like right before the semester of like 2017, like fall.
Yeah, it was like summer of 2017.
Yeah,
So we were there for like almost the exact same amount of time.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's cool. I remember like when we were talking at Tivana, we're like oh like we're asking us each other like all these questions and like we just said like the same answers.
Yeah, it was real. Yeah, that was really weird because you were from San Diego, which was pretty
Yeah.
close to where I was from, and then we were both studying at San Francisco State. We both just moved there. Also, we were both the only dudes that worked at that Ivana store. So, that kind of drew us together, I guess.
Yeah, those interesting. And then like yeah, I guess we just like ended up like moving in like it was like a few months later or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was because it was after that store shut down. Because, yeah, I mean, the whole story with that, was like Starbucks bought Tivana back in 2013. And then, like, uh, I guess they just decided that the retail stores didn't make enough money,
Yeah.
which is something that they announced like uh, before either of us even worked there. Like I remember getting hired and being like, all right, cool, let me like do some research about this company. And it was like Tivana is shutting down. I was like, oh. But I mean, it was a really fun job while we were there. It was just easy. Like we would just you just kind of make tea. Like our manager would just encourage us to just make as much tea as we wanted for ourselves to, you
Yeah.
know, do research, I guess. And then so you just make tea for yourself all day and then just talk to people
Yeah, just talk
about
and
tea.
hang out. And then
Yeah.
it was very convenient because we just like walk there like from like
Yeah, that too. Hmm.
yeah. And then I guess like what I was gonna go following up like our last topic was like with like the film stuff, like what did can you tell us about like some of the projects that you started to work on like after when you got more into film, like film stuff, like what are some of the projects that you did?
Mhm. Yeah, well, I guess one of the roots of it was when you did your short film, and um, and then I shot that. Like I just remember doing it because like it was like, all right, cool, it sounds like a good time, and like I had a lot of fun on that set.
Mhm.
Um, and I felt like organizing those shots was just like a really interesting thing to do. Um, and that also just kind of felt really natural for me. Like I just felt myself sort of stepping into that very easily. Um, but then I became friends with this guy at the Apple store named Alex, and he is he's a film student at San Francisco State. And then we sort of became friends because he won some like Bob Dylan tickets and uh, had an extra ticket and needed someone to go with him. And then I was like, all right, yeah, I'll. He like told me about it. I was like, well, if you don't have anyone else, I'll take it. And so we ended up going together and then bonding over music and uh, film and things like that. Uh, so he liked my photography. So then we decided we wanted to work together on something. And he was doing a student short film. And so I became the cinematographer on that. And then um, I also had a really good time on that set as well. And you were in that, like with a
Oh yeah.
small role as a like a homeless guy or something. You were like, you were a busking musician in the train station.
Yeah, that was pretty fun for me too. I like doing that. That was
Yeah, yeah.
for me.
And I don't know, it was just like I learned a lot on that too. Like how to um, organize a shot list and how to do pre-production and like plan um, and I really liked that aspect of it too, along with the actual filming itself. But I think what I really liked about it was the collaborative aspect, the fact that it was just a bunch of uh, creative people who all just had this sort of shared vision and all trying to make that happen.
Mhm.
And it just felt like a really good time, and like the conversations we'd have trying to uh, debate, whether we should, put the camera here, put it here, how these lights should be. Like that was just I don't know, a really fun thing. So, yeah. So from there, I mean, I was still mostly doing photography at that point, but then there was just like some other small things I did. I have a friend down here. His name's Seji, and he's a dancer. So I'd done like a couple dance videos with him. That was really fun. Um, and then we did a music video, which was really fun to do. That was like during the pandemic. And then another one of my coworkers, he's this Nigerian artist named Klaus, and he wanted to do a music video that was like a little bit more involved, and so he asked me and Alex to do it, and that we ended up doing that over the course of I think it was like 4 months that we were working on that, and it was low budget, but we just wanted to put everything that we had into it. And so we shot a bunch of different locations. Uh, you know, we like he bought a drone to use on the projects, and like um, we just had a bunch of people, a lot of Apple employees, who just all wanted to sort of collaborate on it,
Oh, cool.
come together, and yeah, we were able to make a pretty awesome music video. It was like a short film slash music video, kind of like Michael Jackson's Thriller, where it's like kind of a film leading into a music video. That was kind of what it was. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty proud of how it turned out. Like it looked like it was shot on a higher budget than it was, which is something I'm pretty proud of. And even since then, there's just things that I've learned, on how to, uh, just improve the quality of those shots. Like especially when it comes to lighting, I feel like I've learned a lot with that. But with a lot of that in film, the sort of barrier to entry is that it costs money. You in order to be able to shoot this certain way to be able to match something that you see on like Netflix or like music videos that you see coming from bigger artists. You have to have access to. Uh, it's mostly with lighting. Like my camera can shoot pretty good stuff, um, but like especially when it comes to the lights and the access to certain spaces,
Mm.
that's the kind of thing that costs a lot. And so we may do with some like pretty low budget stuff, but like, uh, that's kind of where I'm at now is trying to figure out how to break into some of these bigger projects and getting access to higher budgets
Yeah.
and sort of figuring out how to do that, which is, one of the reasons why I want to move down here. I just felt like there was a lot more opportunity for that, a lot more going on. So,
Yeah, I definitely think there is because like there's so many actors and there's so many like filmmakers and like
mhm.
yeah, I feel like once COVID dies down, like we'll be able to like hopefully go to like networking events and like actually like
Yeah, because I've been looking, and there's still not that much that's really being planned. Like, but I feel like once summer comes around, that will probably change. But yeah, we'll have to see.
yeah, and then yeah, that's I feel like yeah, I feel like one of the most important things. I feel like what makes a good filmmaker is like the ability to do less with like I mean to do more with like less.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, because while I say that being able to create a certain look requires a certain budget, I mean, uh, that's true with a lot of if you're trying to create like a certain look, when it comes to like shooting interiors and things like that. Um, but you can still make some pretty incredible footage just like going with your camera at the right time of day in a really awesome location. You can make some pretty amazing looking stuff. Um, like one of my favorite shots that we did from that video, we had Klaus, like we painted him, we did some like body paint,
Okay.
and we had him um, like with a torch doing fire breathing at the beach, like right after the sun went down. And Ocean Beach in San Francisco, it's like this very flat, long beach. So when the tide recedes, you get this like glassy effect on the sand where the water's still sort of absorbed in it, but like the waves have receded. So you get this like really long stretch of sort of mirror like uh, ground, and um, so we planned around it. I found like a day where like I could kind of like I used apps to be able to see when the tide was going to recede and like when the sun was going to set. So we knew like exactly when we had to be there, and then we just sort of set it up. I brought my camera, and then it was a really easy thing to do once we were all there. Like we just shot it. Like Klaus watched YouTube videos on how to breathe fire, and like
Nice.
we painted him up. We bought this like glow in the dark body paint, but it was like not really super glow in the darky, but it still like looked cool, so uh we had that, and it turned out looking fantastic. It's shot in slow motion. Like that was like the first thing we shot. We were like so excited after that. We were like, this is gonna be the best thing ever. Um, so yeah, and that was just we didn't have any lights for that. That was just being right place in the right time.
Nice. Yeah, that's really awesome. Um, um, do you have anything like lined up here yet, or do you know like what you're hoping? to do, I guess, next?
Mhm. Yeah, I possibly have one with this artist named Elijah down here. I actually worked on another music video for him a while ago. He's a friend of that dancer guy who I'm friends with down here. And yeah, so he hit me up like it was like a couple days after I moved here, asking if I wanted to work on something with him. I was like, yeah, sure. So we've kind of been like back and forth. Like we're kind of busy right now. Like he's working on another bigger video, and then like I'm trying to get settled, and you know, uh, like I just haven't had a ton of time to put towards all this. But at least for right now, that's kind of just this month as I move in and try to put my apartment together. But yeah, so we'll probably be filming that hopefully in the next like month or so. But another thing is that dancer friend of mine said he's doing a showcase like at the end of this month. It's like a dance showcase with his dance company. So um, yeah, so I'm gonna be sort of helping him put that together, doing uh, the video for it, like actually filming the event, using my lights and everything. So I got that, but at the moment I'm very open to what's out there. Like I think probably what makes the most sense for me at this point is to try to find some sort of full-time work, for like a bigger production company, or doing in-house videography for another company's marketing department or something like that. So then that way I can quit my job at Apple, which it's not like it's a bad job, but it doesn't really contribute anything to what I want to do, and I'm spending a lot of time doing it. So, um, I feel like at this point, really, what I want is just to put as many hours into this as I can and get as good as I can possibly get. And you know, if I can do that on somebody else's dime, then that's kind of the way to do it. So,
Exactly. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, like I feel like I've just been doing music in like an indie sense. Like I haven't really tried to like make money off of it, but like um yeah, I don't know. Hopefully I can like find a way to support that like eventually, whether I make money through like something else that's creative like acting, or whether I'm like
mhm.
working at like a better job or like
Yeah, I feel like the beginning is is definitely the hardest part. You know,
yeah.
um, like going from nothing into something. It like doesn't even make sense. But um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like the idea of being able to make a good living with creative work is just like I don't know. It's pretty incredible. It's almost like cheating. Like we're like duping them or something. Like I'm like
Yeah,
bamboozling people to like pay me to do something that I want to do anyway.
I
Like
know what you mean. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. And then what is your view? I guess like on the I'm just gonna go back to politics, like because I feel like you're pretty knowledgeable about like politics and stuff. Um, what is your view on like the current, I guess like political climate right now, or like in the past year?
I mean, um, well, uh, I mean, I think that at this point I'm cautiously optimistic.
Hmm.
I mean, it's of course it's not perfect, but I'm actually pretty decently happy with the way that the Biden administration is running itself so far. I think that the last 4 years have been like a nightmarish fever dream, and having a return to normalcy, at least somewhat of a return to normalcy, having a boring president is what we need right now. And I also feel like Biden, I feel like he does a pretty decent job of trying to bridge the divide where he is a man on the left, or what we consider to be the left here in the U.S. But at the same time, um, like he's, I don't know, like there's not really much that he's trying to do that really seems controversial, like his infrastructure plan, for example. Like he wants to invest money. He wants to tax more rich people to be able to pay for it. But in doing so, he's creating a lot of the jobs that would be filled by people who would have voted for Trump. So I feel like he's not just playing to one side. Like he's trying to actually do stuff that benefits everybody. And I don't know. I'm kind of cautiously optimistic. I feel like that's something that people can, if not all get together around, at least not like viscerally hate, you know? Like the, my thing is that, I really think that the cancer we have is polarization and just how bad it's getting in the U.S. Um, and there's kind of different ways that that's manifesting. One of those being that in media on the right and the left, the information universes that everybody's living in are becoming more and more different and more divergent. Where, if you're someone on the right, like my grandpa or something, like, you're going to be living in an entirely different universe and being made aware of entirely different sets of facts than a liberal in San Francisco. Like, you're just not even living in the same world. Yeah, like it's I don't know. Um so there's that. And there's just also the way that Congress is running itself, where um mostly because of the Republican Party, we have this culture of obstructionism where um it's not really about doing things, it's about stopping the other side from doing things. And so the result is that you get this dysfunctional government that people lose their faith in, which, when you have a population that loses faith in their democratic government, then that kind of makes non-democratic forms of government seem more interesting and more viable, which is, that's how you get fascism. That's how you get authoritarian states rising to power. Like, that's why you have someone like Donald Trump being able to flagrantly disregard and disrespect democratic institutions and have his base be like, just like all about it. It's
Like almost like it's like the people, like it's like almost their conspiracy theory, like the QAnon, like the conspiracy theory is like a huge part of like their base almost.
Mhm.
It's like
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the fact that you have this like entire political class that gets their worldview from like almost entirely from misinformation. Like, I mean, like, I don't, like, if you can just say that voter fraud means that the guy you didn't want, like, actually didn't win, like, if you can just say that and not actually have to produce any evidence
right.
to be able to say that and to be able to believe that, then like how's this supposed to work? Like, the only way that democracy can actually function properly is, you can have people that have different ideologies, but it works as long as those people are operating on a shared set of facts. But if one side is just making up its own facts to be able to justify its own ideology, then you no longer have a functioning democracy. Like, that just doesn't work, because like there's no kernel of consensus. There's no like small space of common ground, because like the entire ideology, I feel like on the right is becoming not really anything substantive in itself, but it's just that like the entire ideology is just left is bad and liberals are evil spawns of Satan trying to murder your babies. Like I
Yeah.
mean, like that's not an ideology, but that's kind of what it's becoming. It's just the other side is a boogeyman. Um, and so, not that some of that doesn't happen on the left as well. Like I definitely think that if you, uh, you know, tune into CNN, you'll see plenty of stories about how people on the right are, you know, mouth foaming racists and
Hmm.
things like that. I mean, I just think that it makes sense why you know media and broadcast media in particular would try to do that. It's because people are interested in conflict, and journalists in the US, these publications, they're not publicly funded. They're not just doing this, like out of the good of their heart. Like these publications have to make money. And the way to do that is to get views. And the way to get views is to get people really invested and to feel like they have to know what's going on. And a really easy way to do that is to say that the other side are terrible, evil spawns of Satan, and they want to come after you. And you need to tune in next week to find more about their evil plans.
Right.
So, yeah. But I mean, the more of that happens, and the more that each side sees the other side as inhuman or stupid or evil, then the less we're going to actually be able to have a functioning democracy. I mean, it's obvious that there are really big divisions in this country, but the only way that those divisions are actually going to, you know, not be divisions is through people having conversations with each other. And, the less shared information there is, and the more each side villainizes the other, then the less that is possible. Um,
Yeah.
I think that people being able to talk to each other about politics, but also like see each other as human beings outside of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yeah.
that's how this has to work. Like if you're people are unwilling to have friends and connections with people who don't agree with them politically because they see it like the other side as uh, immoral, then you know then we're not going to be able to actually heal this. So
Yeah, for sure.
that's my sort of main concern. I'm hoping that we're the worst is behind us with that. I don't really know if it is, to be honest. um, I kind of feel like there has to be some sort of cataclysmic event for us to stop heading in that direction. um,
Yeah, I guess
but
COVID
we'll see.
cataclysmic enough.
You would think so, but that doesn't seem to
Yeah.
help at all. So, and that's kind of going back to how different sets of facts kind of ruin our ability to actually have a functioning democracy. You would think something like COVID would make it very obvious that we need to have a competent government that's able to step up, and do the things that need to be done. Like that just seems so obvious. But if you can just say that it doesn't exist or that it's a conspiracy, and you don't have to provide evidence for that, but your ideas get reaffirmed by Facebook articles and Fox News, then like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that because sometimes I would get into arguments with like my manager or something about, and she's like very much into that stuff. I guess like she's very
Oh,
much
really?
right.
Yeah.
Um, and I did notice like we would have disagreements on facts a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that was a huge issue because I didn't know what to really say. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we're having a disagreement on this fact, or if you like don't think this is true, then like I don't even know how to have like a conversation with you, basically.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, like I don't know. I like my entire family is they're all conservative Christians. So, um, like my parents, they're both Republican, but they're not like I don't know. My dad's he considers himself like a libertarian. My mom is like kind of also a little bit more socially left. I feel like they've kind of moved more towards the center. I'd like to think that I had something to do with that, and arguing with them all the time. Um, but like, uh, I have a couple of grandpas that are like, flag waving Sean Hannity fans, and like it's I don't know. Those conversations just sort of devolve. It's really hard to get anything productive out of that. Um, yeah, because when you disagree on sets of facts, then you're just butting your head against the wall. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I feel like you have a lot to say about like I guess like I remember when we lived together, we'd always talk about like politics and stuff, and I felt like you had like a good scope of like how it worked, I guess, like how things worked and like how to approach like I guess political questions and like philosophical questions as well.
yeah. And I do still like going into that. I still don't know. Like, I just have this, like, I don't know, this feeling like I need to turn that into something. I just don't know what that is yet. And like, if I am going down this, film career trajectory, I'm not quite sure yet how exactly all of these interests will sort of coalesce into one thing, but I definitely feel like they can. Um, so while I may not be exactly sure uh, what that'll actually look like, I'm sure it'll look like something, and I'm kind of excited to see what that might be.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I feel like the universe has a way of like bringing everything together that
Mhm.
we're meant to do, possibly. So who knows?
Yeah, definitely. And the thing with doing video is like that could literally be anything. Like I don't know, like that can turn into a lot of different things. So um, yeah, at this point, like I've stopped trying to have like a clear end goal in mind. Like before, I wanted to, you know, graduate and then try to go to Columbia School of Journalism and, you know, like really have this like sort of end that I was going to end up at, which was like being this investigative political reporter. Um, but at this point, I don't think I'm quite so tied to outcomes. Um, like I have certain things that I want to do, but like I'm not like staking my I don't know, like who I am on it. Like
Right.
before that was like an identity formation for me. But at this point, I feel like I am just sort of I don't know, following the winds of opportunity and sort of seeing where that leads me. And that means I don't really know exactly where I might be in 5 or 10 years or what I'm going to be doing exactly. Um, but I kind of feel like that's exciting. Like you know, I
Yeah.
can just sort of let that play out. But
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah. I feel like I've sort of been more like that too. Like I guess when I was at SF State and like going to college and like I guess like my earliest 20s, I was very set on like my identity of being like an actor. And that was like I felt like very attached to that
mm-hmm.
throughout that time. And I feel like I've definitely loosened up too about who I am. And,
Mm-hmm.
I still have aspirations for like certain things, like you said. And I still have like certain goals that I like definitely want to accomplish. but I
Mhm.
do feel a sense of like putting more importance instead of like on the end goal, like more importance of like how do I feel day to day, and like
Mhm.
is that healthy? You know, like is my day to day healthy and like putting me in a good place mentally, and like
Yeah, yeah,
being able
exactly.
to, like mentally take care of myself and like feel like more holistic about life and like not be stressed and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I can I don't know, like a lot of my goals at this point are sort of more just ideas of what I want my life to look like. And for me, like my main goal right now is to like where I want to end up is with my own video production company. Like I want to be able to like have my own thing, work with people who I like, who I want to, be able to choose my own work, and um, be able to sort of put it all together while taking care of the business side. Like that gives a lot more freedom, and um, I think that I could turn that into a lot of different things. What I'm not necessarily hung up on the specifics of that. Like, um, I don't yet know if that video production company would have a focus on commercial work or music videos or or narrative or any of those different things or like documentaries. Like at this point, I'm very open to that side of things, like what the actual specifics of it would be. But what the goal is like what that life actually looks like, where I could if I want to be able to like if it makes sense for me to be able to take a trip and go travel for like a month and bring my camera and uh, take amazing landscape photos or you know make a film about it. Like I want to be able to have the freedom to do that, not have to like make that work with my employer. you know I, I want to be able to make those kind of decisions, and so that would be uh, running my own thing. So at this point, that's really what my goal is. But yeah, the actual like specifics of that, I'm totally open to it.
Cool. Yeah, I still have, I feel like my future isn't too defined yet. Like I'd love to be, a full-time actor and do music like on the side. Like that's, I could do anything, like that's what I want to do.
Mhm.
Um but yeah, I feel like I want to be in the right financial situation to be able to take that risk for like maybe like a year or a
Mhm.
certain amount of time before I like jump and like just be like, okay, just gonna do this.
Yeah.
Sort of like one of my goals now, or just find, some type of work that's like flexible enough and like decent enough to where I could, have some sort of semblance of like doing that,
Mhm.
like feel fulfilled, with both. But I don't know. Just like
Mhm.
sort of just trying to find that opportunity.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of a catch 22 because you have to be able to have the time to put into it to be successful. But in order to have the time, you have to be able to have the money, and like it usually takes time to make money, like unless you have a rich daddy, but we are not quite so fortunate.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I think we're probably gonna wrap up soon. Is there anything lingering or like anything that you want to mention, I guess, before we sort of finish?
Um, Not necessarily. At this point, like uh, you know, after the move and everything's still very fresh. You know, uh, like one thing uh, I really want out of this is to be able to make a lot of new connections. And at this point, it's still difficult with the pandemic, you know, still being in play. We're getting towards the end of it, so looking forward to, you know, what's going to happen with that. And yeah, but I don't know. I just want to meet as many interesting, creative people as I can that are doing things like this that I can work with. So
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. And then just for the audience, like where can people find you, like online and stuff?
I have an Instagram. So that is JD underscore Tuck. And then I also have a website. It's jacobtuckerphotography.com. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, thanks for watching. That concludes episode 17. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Jacob Tucker. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Ron.
Yeah, of course. You too.